the World Healing Tour movement with your host, Noah Crane. Heal yourself, heal the world. Hello, and welcome to the World Healing Tour podcast, where our mission is to help you heal yourself so you can heal the world. Hi, my name is Noah Crane. Each week, we will bring you tips and tools and inspire you to live your most empowered and joyful life. I'm also the author of the book, The Grass is Greenest Where I Am, because the grass is greenest where you are when you say so. When you choose to live in a place of no comparison, no competition, and no scarcity. When you choose to live in your own love and light and share your unique gifts with the world, because we're all unique. That's why it's called World Healing Tour. Because when we heal ourselves, we make ourselves our biggest project, we can truly live that ripple effect for others to heal as well. Each week, I bring incredible guests into studio to pour into you and help you on your journey. I'm super excited about my guest today because I think she has incredible tools to help you in your life. Sandra Iozzelli is a recognized clinical hypnotherapist trainer in London with 15 plus years of experience, helping people release emotional burdens and regain emotional balance. She has worked with over 1,000 clients across 15 plus countries, refining a method called the AIR technique, which encompasses acknowledging, identifying, and releasing, that allows people to process emotions in minutes and free themselves from long-healed emotional patterns. Wouldn't that be so cool that we could just release ourselves that easily? Welcome, Sandra, to the World Healing Tour podcast. I'm so excited for this conversation we're going to have and everything that I'm going to learn just spending this time with you.
Thank you. No, it's a pleasure for me to be here and talk with you and share this technique with you and all your audience.
Yeah, I love that. And I have so many questions, but let's start by asking you what made you interested. So your background is in hypnotherapy, right? What made you
Mhm.
interested in hypnotherapy? And how did you come to a place where you wanted to do this work to help others?
Yeah, I actually come from marketing. I have been working in marketing for years,
Mhm.
and I found out about therapy many years ago, and I was really attracted to that world and to those therapies. So I started getting into that world until I, at some point, felt the need to really work as a therapist because that was a new passion that I found. So I left a very good career in marketing back then in Barcelona and started working with different tools of therapy.
So what made you interested, not to cut you off, but what made you interested in therapy? What intrigued you to make that transition from marketing, which you were very good at, to all of a sudden say, "Hey, I want to be a hypnotherapist."
Yeah, it was actually by chance. I was suggested to start to see a therapist because someone went to a session and they like it. And I started going there and I was fascinated by her stories about what she was doing, seeing. And I wanted to go every week just to hear her. I was not working in anything specific for myself, but I was really, really curious about what she was doing. And I spent maybe a year on that until at some point, I felt that I really wanted to be that therapist as well.
So
So
so what did you Okay, so this woman must have been so fascinating, right? And you so
yeah,
enjoyed your time with her that it made you so interested in helping others because did it help you personally, the therapy of working with her?
I didn't notice that at the moment, but
Mm.
I was workaholic. So I will be the very first one to arrive to the office and the last one in leaving. And at some point, I started stopping to having a coffee break and then going to my at home at 6 as everybody else, talk with the people. So I started having a more balanced life.
Mm.
I was not bothered about that life before, but at some point I needed to balance that. Just was natural, and I started to seeing that. But it was more like I was looking forward to my classes of therapy. I was really so excited about that. It felt like a passion, And that's when I started working as that, and I left my career. But I left it twice because at the beginning, the techniques I was using were not that consistent. I was not giving the results I really wanted. So at some point, I became kind of disillusioned by the therapist, and went back to marketing. And then after some years, back in Peru, I heard about this technique, first hypnotherapy, and something clicked again with me. And I went to study hypnotherapy in London and started working on that right after that. And since then, I have been working as a hypnotherapist. And within that therapy, I have developed my own technique, which made the results much better even within a hypnotherapy session.
Yeah, let's talk about your technique, and let's break it down for people because it sounds so easy, right? But we know
Yeah.
that how often we do get stuck in emotions and how hard it is for people to release. And you came up with something that gives you, you're able to use and do it much faster and not be stuck in all these, past emotions. So I would love to talk about the steps for
Yeah,
the air technique.
yeah, as hypnotherapist, I have to deal with a lot of past emotions, experiences that always brings a lot of pain in the people, in the person, even from childhood. So the important thing in hypnotherapy is not only the hypnosis, but what do you do when you find that wound that you have to heal? So I realized or felt inspired to use this process with my clients, and I saw the effectiveness, and I started to use it in all the emotions that were coming up. And it was very easy to explain. It's very easy to explain. I call it the air technique, which is acknowledge first, second, identify, and third, release. What I mean with this is acknowledge the emotion that you are feeling regarding that experience or whatever you're living right now. Identify where do you feel the emotion in your body. It's very important. Where do you feel it? People doesn't realize that there's a physical sensation with the emotions. Probably it's not in your stomach, or maybe a pressure in your chest, or your throat, or something in your shoulders. In any part of your body you can feel the tension of the emotion. And the third step will be to release it.
Well, let's
Release.
talk. Let's talk first about the acknowledge. So why is it so important to acknowledge where you're feeling it in your body?
Yeah, because sometimes, I will hear the person tell me the stories, and they will go on with the pain and the story itself.
Hmm.
So I have to stop them and tell them, okay, what are you feeling? Because I can see the sadness, I can see the anger, and they just go on with that. So I say, okay, what are you feeling? And they is like, okay, yeah, well, I think I feel anger or resentment or sadness. And sometimes they want to keep talking. I said, no, it's not. We are going to work on that emotion, not just go through that. So the first step is realizing and noticing that instead of ignoring it and just letting it go. I mean,
Yeah.
ignore that and let it there.
Yeah, I
This is
love
the first
that.
thing.
I love that because I love that you stop them from just continuing and continuing because if you let people, they will just, people are attached to their stories, right? And to their
Yeah.
pain and to their suffering. And we don't even realize it's not even in our consciousness that we're attached to it. So,
Mhm.
by repeating the stories and going over and over and over again, it doesn't really get you any results. You have to bring it back to yourself, bring
Yeah.
it back to your body and start realizing like, hey, where am I feeling this? Why is this emotion, and where is this emotion in my body? Why is it affecting me the way it is? So I love that you have to acknowledge it and you're not just letting them just ramble on and on.
Yeah, and there's a lot of sometimes of resistance in some of
Mm,
them, that they will want to tell me the story and keep going with more stories. And I say,
mm.
no, just talking by that won't heal you. We have to stop and work on this one first. And
Yes.
there's
So why?
really,
So yeah, I agree. And why do you think people are so? Why, in your opinion, as a hypnotherapist, are we so attached to our stories?
Yeah, I mean, because they think, or they have been telling their stories again and again, maybe thinking that that will help them, and
Mhm.
they get very surprised, like, oh no, this is not going to help me. Not really, because sometimes we keep talking the same story and we keep feeding the same emotion of sadness, of feeling like a victim, or anger, without doing anything with that. And the other person will say, "Oh yeah, poor you," or "Yeah, that's right." So we stay in that loop and
Mm.
don't let go of that.
Yeah, and we stay like victims, and a lot there's a payoff to being a victim. Then people are always wrong and doing wrong things to you, and you
Yeah,
always get to be right, you know? And so we
yeah,
have to look at ourselves and be like, does this keep me being a victim, or is this, or am I standing in my power by releasing that emotion? So I love the
exactly.
acknowledgement part, because I think that's really powerful to know where you're feeling it, and then what's the next step after we acknowledge it?
The next step is identified in the body.
Mhm.
I ask them, please notice where you're feeling it. And they get very surprised when I ask them that. It's like, where? I don't know. Just, okay, notice it. And they will say, they
Mhm.
will always find it in the body.
Mhm.
That's the most surprising thing. They will always find it. And first, I thought it was always on, like, in the chest, the stomach, and the neck or the throat, like the typical parts of the body where we feel the emotions. But actually, it's anywhere in the body. And sometimes it's the same part where they have chronic pain, like it could be in the shoulders, in the back. And it's like where they have been suffering of physical pain as well. And they realize, yeah, I have it in my hands, even in my legs. And they will stay with that. They will, for the very first time, I think they will realize that, or they are afraid of what they were feeling, because they say, no, I always have this pressure in my chest, or this knot in my throat. Okay, here is emotion. That's what we have to let go. So stay with that. Identify that.
So the emotional, our emotions and our body are connected. And so
Yeah.
anytime you're feeling emotions in your life, whether it's sadness, pain, so, anger, any kind of emotion, you're going to feel it somewhere in your body. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, and even there's a scientist that will say that, like Dr. Candace Pert, will talk about the emotions not being only mental but physical as well, and they have this manifestation that she called it the molecules of emotion. So that's physical as well, and that's what the part that we need to connect with, that physical part. When we do that, we can release it very easily.
Mhm. Yeah, and so once your clients, they or your patients know where the pain is in their body, they're recognizing it. Now they get to release it, right?
Yeah. Then it's that release part, which is very simple. It's just feeling it. Like, notice the knot in your throat, the tension in your stomach,
Mhm.
the pressure in your chest, or the tightness in your hands. Whatever it is, just stay there, just feeling it.
Mhm.
And in a matter of minutes, 1 minute, 2 minutes, that will decrease. I will ask them also to measure it from 0 to 10 to know how intense it is
Mhm.
since the beginning. So they can see how the sensation changes, because sometimes they could say, no, it's not changing. Okay, but if it was in 10, now it is in how intense it is. 9. Okay, even if it's 1 point, it's decreasing. But most commonly, it will decrease very easily and fast, and they will be very surprised. And I will repeat this process until the sensation is completely gone. Maybe I will ask them 2 or 3 times to go back to the memory, notice identify the emotion, notice the emotion, identify it in the body, measure it, and keep feeling it until it is gone. And we will do this until when they recall that memory, that sensation is gone.
Mhm.
And they will feel peace, clarity, and a different perspective from that sensation after that. It's very surprising to see that.
That's incredible. Are you doing hypnosis on them while you're doing it, or is it a separate thing from you not they don't have to be under hypnosis when you're
Yeah,
doing the
you
thing?
know, my sessions are very long. They could last from 4 to 6 hours. The first 2, 3, 4 hours are we are going to talk about their lives. So I will stop them throughout those 4 hours. Each time they are telling me their story, and I see the emotions, and we will work on that. So sometimes when we arrive to the hypnotherapy part, which is at the last hour, they will say, I the things that I came to work, they're not bothering me anymore. I don't have the resentment, I don't have that pain, I don't have that sadness. But of course, we still work on the hypnotherapy part. And I will use the same technique to heal the wounds that I see in the hypnotherapy, or the regressions they do. It will bring back memories also that needs to be healed, and I will use this same technique to let them go.
So once you're able to let go the emotional and release the body and release the emotions, do they come back or are they completely gone forever?
They are completely gone, and I tell them,
Mhm.
if you find something else, it's not the same thing. It's just something that was left that still needs to let it go. You need to let it go. So, like, we are like taking away these emotions that are sometimes deep, and we still have more of those that we might see, and we need to let them go as well. But it's not the same. It's more of the same that we need to finally let go completely.
Yeah, that's incredible that you can do that. And so, how many sessions do people usually work with you to do that, or can they do it also on their own at home? Like, do you teach them how to do it so they can sit at home and release their own emotions?
Yeah, my session, which is this hypnotherapy session that is a very long one, and we will work with big issues and big things. It's one session only, very long and deep, but only one session. But within that, we will work on many memories and their emotions. That's part of the whole process. But they go back home knowing how to do that by themselves. For me, it's very important that they understand that now they have a tool with them to let go all the emotions that they will face in their life, and that they can recover the peace, knowing how to let go that fear, that pain that is blocking that peace. They
Mhm.
know how to do it, and I make sure they recognize that they have now that tool to do it by their own at home as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. If you go on YouTube or you just listen to the news, or which I try not to do, but I do go on YouTube a lot, and there's so many people that commit crimes and do things in a moment of emotions, right? They're so controlled by their emotions. And I'm sure if they weren't emotionally charged and if they were able to calm their emotions and not be
Yeah.
calm from emotions, they would have made different decisions in their lives. I think the jail is full of people that acted out of emotions.
Yes, absolutely. And I always recommend, don't do anything until you let go the emotions.
Mhm.
Don't decide anything until you're at peace, because emotions are never good advisors. You need to, if you are feeling sad or angry or resented, resentment, you have to let that go before you make that call or you take that decision,
Mhm.
because then will be the peace that will guide you, not the anger or the sadness or the resentment that will guide you, and you won't like the results of that.
Mhm. Why do you think we're so controlled by our emotions? Is that, do you think, upbringing, home life, the way we saw our parents react to things? Why do you think that we are so programmed to act with emotions?
Yeah, because nobody taught us how to release them or how to deal with them. Actually, since we are little, we are told not to cry, not to be angry, not to be resentful, not to, you know. But nobody tells us how to stop doing that. I mean, You can tell me don't be sad, but you're not telling me how to do that. I will be still sad, but I will have to hide that from myself and from others. So we learn to hide them from ourselves because not even our parents knew how to deal with them actually. So, and I see that until today. Sometimes we are told to express our emotions, but it's not the best way because you can express sadness and start talking about your that you are sad for this or that. But sometimes we are feeding that painful story and we keep sad for a longer time
Mm,
because we keep repeating that sad stories to ourselves. Or maybe we can be angry and then we think, oh, we should express our anger. And then we go and tell that person, and that gets we get into a conflict with that other person. And sometimes we get angrier, and we don't solve anything. And then we might feel guilty after that. So, and then we have other emotions like fear or guilt. How do you express that?
mm,
We don't know how to do that. So that's not also the best way to deal with emotions. Not hiding it, not necessarily expressing it. For me, the best way is releasing it. But yeah, I realize nobody teaches us how to do that.
yeah, so can you share some stories with us of maybe people you worked with that were able to release emotions and live a happier life?
Yeah, and it's interesting because they can see that change within the same session while doing. There's like a before and after, letting go the emotions. Like for example, this mother that was coming because she was so worried about her son since he was little. She will live with constant anguish and always thinking that he could have an accident, something bad could happen, like a lot of mothers could go through. But that fear was something that was really painful for her. So we work on letting go that pain and that fear. And after working on those emotions, she left the session feeling like in peace and trusting in her son that was now going to the university, and she could let him go to the university with peace of mind, trusting that he could take care of him, that he was able to do that, and actually just knowing that he was going to be well, for example. Or also, I even work for with a whole family. They lost their parent, their father, in during COVID, and they were having a very hard time letting go of that pain. So I work with them one by one, and they were not able to move forward. They were keeping the clothes of their father and all intact, like it was like if he never left. And I help them to let go of that pain because sometimes even when we lose somebody, we think we will have that pain for the rest of our lives. That's a belief that is not loving to ourselves. So I help them let go of that pain, knowing that under that pain there was love, and that only love is the thing that we need to keep, and that will keep us connected with that person that we love. So I could
Mm.
see how all of them were able to decide, okay, now it's time to move on, to give away the clothes and to remember him with love.
Mm. I love that because that's something that a lot of people deal with, right? And we're all going to deal with it at one point or another with grief
Yeah,
and losing somebody. And, letting go, I think, is one of the hardest thing that
yeah,
we can come to, right? And, because we're so attached, we're so attached to whatever we're attached to, and especially relationships where we had, a strong connection, a strong love towards somebody. That has to be not an easy thing to be able to release and to get to a place where, like you said, it's so beautiful. Like the only thing we should hold on to is to the memories and to the love, right? But it's
yeah,
it's it's not hard to let go of things and let
yeah,
go. It's just we as human beings, we get in our own way a lot.
yeah, yeah. It's beautiful, really. And even also to reunite people. Like for example, I have this case of this woman that she was not in contact anymore with her aunt. She stopped seeing her when he was very young because she just let her go and didn't help her in a moment that it was very difficult for her. And it has been like 15 years since they didn't talk with each other, and she has a lot of resentment and fear towards her. So we work a lot on those resentments and fear. And after we do that, she was so at peace, and she wanted to contact her aunt to reconnect with her. But the most interesting part was that she didn't do. She was thinking about doing that because she felt peace and love in her heart. But just a month after that, she got a phone call from her aunt. She started looking how to get in contact with her. She wanted to talk with her again and actually even offer to help her now in whatever she was needing. So it was like, I don't know, even a miracle to see that somebody out of the blue call
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like
reconnect
almost,
after doing this.
yeah, I love that
Mm-hmm.
so much, that story, because it almost shows like when you do your own inner work, you're removing your own blocks to even let somebody reach to you. You know, not only can you reach to them now, but they can reach to you. So you're creating a flow back into the
Yeah,
universe, a flow back into the world, because everything's energy, right? And
yeah,
so, you know, forgiveness, letting go, you know, compassion, all those things, they bring you back into a state of flow where you can receive more and give
yeah,
more, you know? And I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, yeah,
But it's not easy work, right? And you have to be ready for it, and you have to be willing, and you have to want better for yourself. And you have to come to it, and that's why, you know, you help facilitate that for people is extremely important.
yeah. It's important to want to do that. Like,
Mm.
uh, I was talking with somebody that worked with him a while ago. He had a lot of anxiety, and he felt so. I mean, very good after that. He was very skeptical at the beginning and felt very good. And then he went to his office and was trying to talk with a friend of him that she was also very anxious, even more than him. But she didn't want to. It was like, you know, not everybody has is it the right time to look at those emotions that we have to deal with. So it needs courage to go and work on that.
Yeah. And it just shows you that your own self work is the only way for you to move forward in life and to feel good in your life. Like it's not anybody else. You're not responsible for anybody else. You're responsible for how you show up, and doing your own inner work and your own inner healing helps create healing around you, and, you know, create healing for the world, like we say, because
Yeah.
it starts with us. You know, if we don't do the inner work, if we're holding on to all those past traumas, you know, they're really going to hurt you in your life. And what
Mm.
have you seen people, like when people hold on to their traumas, what kind of things do you see in them when they're holding on and they're not letting go?
Yeah, sometimes we don't realize how much impact has those traumas or fears in our life, and sometimes we will um, think that is something external to us that is causing that. For example, I had this person that he was thinking that he has been cursed by somebody because everything was going wrong for him suddenly from one point to another, and everything was wrong, and that he thought somebody had made these witchery things and something else outside from him. And I told him, well, I don't believe in that, but I can help you to notice what is in your mind that is giving the power outside of yourself, and get it back. And we saw that there was a lot of guilt in him because things that happened in his life that he has done and he felt guilty about. And since then, there was a lot of accidents and problems in his life that for me it was like the mind punishing him, because guilt expect punishment, and unconsciously he was punishing himself without noticing that and thinking that it was somebody else doing a course in him or something like that.
Mm,
After we let go all that guilt and fear,
mm,
his life changed. He was like again bright and happy and having good things in life. after that.
I love that because how often do people really think that somebody put a spell on them? Or,
Yeah.
I would walk into Target and a woman would come up to me. She's like, somebody put a spell on you and I can help you release it. So there's all this like, dark energy out there outside of us that can make us feel like, hey, but really, again, it brings it back to yourself, that it's always within you. You have the power to heal that. And that's incredible that he was able to do that and be able to free himself, right, from the chain. I think it's the whole thing. It's like freeing ourselves from our own chains, right, from our own past, from our own traumas, from our own stories. When we can free ourselves, it's a whole different world because now we're in control and we take our power back and we're no longer
Yeah.
controlled by outside circumstances. Let's talk a little bit more about fear. And
Mhm.
fear is a big one, even for me sometimes, right? Because, you know, we're afraid, like sometimes I'm afraid to use my voice and to speak up for myself or
Mhm.
to be able to say, I get afraid, sometimes we give in to things because we're afraid if we say something, it's going to backfire or it's going to, fear can really stop us in our lives. So many of us, so many people are, controlled by fear, by their own fear of their own past, their own whatever. What
Yeah.
can people do to release the fear?
Yeah, fear is for me the base of all the emotions, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the main one. And for me, we have to work it in the same way that we will work any other emotion. We have to to recognize the fear. If I want to talk, like for example, I'm afraid of speaking my truth or speaking in front of somebody, before I have to do that, before, for example, I have to, let's say we have to do a presentation and we are fearful about we have to talk there. Before we go there, we should uh, notice how we feel about that talk and work on that fear before we go there and stay there and notice the fear, realize where it is in our body, feel it and release it by noticing until it is gone completely and that we feel even inspired and excited about doing that talk. And then in the moment also, maybe we are there and we can find some more fear that's coming up, live. There's more probably that will come up. But then you can stay present with that fear in your body. Nobody will notice it. You don't even have to close your eyes to do that. You can just feel it even when you are hearing somebody or talking and stay with that. So you will help yourself to be the more peaceful that you can at that moment. And also after that, maybe we go after experience that we felt fear, we need to stay with that fear for a moment and let it go. If not, we are going to keep it inside, and we don't need that.
Mm-hmm.
And something else important about the fear is that people are afraid of the symptoms also. And when we are very fearful, we can be in a state of anxiety, very strong anxiety. The people that is maybe has phobias, they can even feel, that they are sweating, that they are trembling, and or maybe if somebody's having an anxiety crisis, they start worry about they are breathing very heavily or their heart. Those are fears that will just build up to the one that they have. So I always told them, just feel the symptoms. Just if you're sweating, just feel sweat. It will go away. But if you resist that and you are against that, you are making it stronger. You're trembling, just take that time to tremble and just feel it until your body will calm down. And you will see that that will have released the fear. If you feel your heart beating, just feel it and allow it to calm down without fear. Just feel the symptoms as well. That will help people when the fear is very strong.
Yeah, that's great. And also realizing that maybe the fear is not real, right? Because, we fear can be, like somebody puts a gun to your head, that's real fear, right? But most fears are kind of in a story we tell ourselves, and that's what's hold us back from being fully self-expressed.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And when you let go the fear, you realize that
Mhm.
that is not real, because underneath the fear, you will feel peace. You will feel your strength, your inner strength. Once you let go the fear and you realize that fear was not real at all.
I love that. That's great because when we release the fear, we do get into a place of freedom for sure. How do people deal with something like confidence? Let's say, like so many men and women I know have a lack of confidence. Is that something that we can work on through that your technique?
Yeah, because lack of confidence will be also fear,
Hmm.
fear of judgment, fear of failing, fear of not doing it right,
Hmm.
uh,
Maybe fear of being seen.
fear of being seen.
Hmm.
Those are fears, and they can work them as a fear. Confidence is a very broad word, so they have to bring it to the point, like one by one. Like for example, where I'm feeling confident, maybe talking with somebody. Well, before I do that, I will feel the fear to talk with that person and let it go. And when I'm with that person talking, I will feel the fear, if there is still fear, and let it go. If I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to do this work right, I have to sit down with that fear and, like we said, first acknowledge the fear of failing, of not doing it right, and stay with that fear until you feel more confident.
Hmm.
Because when you let go of that fear, then you can find the confidence within.
Yeah, it makes
So
sense. It feels like fear kind of runs everything, you know.
yes, yes,
Even us maybe getting angry is based on our own fears, of whatever it is that we tell ourselves, you know. So it seems like
yeah.
when we can overcome the fears, we can really let go of a lot of things. Would you say that's true?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's for me is the root even from the anger. And like you said, if I'm angry, probably is because I'm afraid of something happening that is not in my benefit. And I believe that I have to attack or fight back in order to be safe, because I'm afraid of something that will not be of benefit for me. So
And
for me, it's
mhm.
always at the base. Yeah.
Would you say that so many things are learned behaviors? For example, anger, is that a learned behavior? Is, like some people wake up in the morning, first thing in the morning, they're in a really bad mood, right? Is that like a learned
Mhm.
behavior? Is that stuff that we can let go of through your work?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Because we sometimes have seen this work for other people. Like, for example, our parents, maybe they got angry and they will get what they wanted, being angry from their children. Or sometimes it worked for us when we got angry when we were little and it worked. They hurt us or they gave us what we needed or what we wanted. So we think, maybe unconsciously, that that's the way to get things and that's the way we need to behave, right? And but the more we uh, confront that and let it go, the problem will be is if we think that's the way we are.
Mhm.
I'm like that. I'm a person that gets angry. I'm a person that wakes up with a bad mood. I will tell you, okay, face that resentment or anger each time you feel it until there's nothing else there. And you will feel the peace and you will maybe surprise yourself being a more peaceful person. Or in the morning, if you are in a bad mood, instead of allowing that to just control your day, stay with that bad mood, with that anger, and stay with that, release that. That's something that I recommend you, like when we start a day, see how we feel about the day that we're going to have, and if there is any worry, fear, anger, resentment, let it go. So we start the day with the right food and the right mood as well. So I'm completely sure that if a person wants and face those emotions, they can let it go, and that's not part of the personality. That's not who they are.
Mhm.
So they can let it go.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's great news for a lot of people out there. How about as far as like setting boundaries? Is that something you work with people on to set boundaries? Because some people, they're just always pleasing, always trying to, help others, and they're not, setting boundaries with other people, and therefore they get resentful.
Yeah. I will not suggest somebody to put boundaries because I believe more in the unity than in the separation. And for me, putting boundaries will reinforce that. What I will suggest will be to see why they are doing those things that they resent later because they are looking for approval, to be liked, to be, not judged. So those are again fears.
Hmm.
I will focus on that and on those emotions that makes us do things that we don't want and we resent later, and also let go the resentment and the fear of not being liked. I will work on that because uh, putting boundaries for me will be also like fear based in some way.
Hmm.
I believe that the more pieces we have on our mind, the better relationships we will have.
Yeah, but some people like that say no to say yes to everything, and then it kind of like they get resentful inside. So I'm saying like self boundaries, and it's not like setting a separation of somebody, but it's actually respecting yourself.
Yeah, I will work more like in, okay, you need to say no to this. So how do you feel about saying no? Oh no, I'm afraid I can't. I feel like, a pressure. I feel like this resistance.
Hmm.
Okay, let's work on that. So you let that go. Because if you say yes because you want to be approved, then that's holding you back, and that's having you in a prison that you have to go out from there. So I will say to work on what they are feeling that makes them say things they don't want to say yes when they want to say no. So so that's more like an introspection. That's when I was talking about acknowledging the emotion, but the real emotion, why you're saying yes when you want to say no. Oh, I'm afraid that person will get angry with me. I am afraid that that person won't like me. So I have to let go that fear. So next time I will feel confident and it will be natural for me to say no if I really want to say no.
Yeah, communication is very important, right? To be able to communicate things to people, maybe not come from an emotional place, but be able to communicate it in a more positive way
Yeah.
because you're not lashing out and you're, thinking before you're calming yourself down before you react to something.
Yeah, for me, letting go all the emotions before we have to deal with a situation or a conflict are very important. If we are moving from peace, we will have a better interaction with that other person, rather than um, based on resentment or trying to get something from the other person. We need to work on those emotions so our communication is peaceful and can reflect that peace and love that is within us.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's break it down for people again before we end this podcast. So, first, you're going to acknowledge the emotion. So, what are you doing in that state again when you're acknowledging?
Yeah, either if it's from a past experience or something that you
let's
have to
let's
deal now.
let's let's talk about a particular, let's say, I'm angry with a friend of mine. Let's break it down. I'm angry with a friend of mine because she said something that hurt me. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to acknowledge that emotion.
Yes, yes. First, acknowledge that I feel resentment. I feel resentment towards that person.
Hmm.
That's the first thing. That I'm angry also with that friend. I
Okay.
have to realize that, not stay in the story, but realizing what that story or that situation is making me feel. Okay, I'm angry. I'm resentful, and start with that.
So number one is how it's making you feel.
Exactly.
Okay, so once I realize how it's making me feel, it's making me resentful, it's making me angry, it's making me upset, it's making whatever it is for you, then what's the next step?
The next step is identify where you feel that resentment or that anger in your body.
Okay, so I'm gonna
And
feel my body and see where in my body right now I feel that
mhm,
anger, that resentment, that upset. I'm
yes,
gonna identify. Let's say I'm feeling it in my stomach.
yes. And then you notice that in your stomach
Hmm.
and you measure it from 0 to 10, how intense it is. So you can see how it's leaving your body later.
Okay, so let's say I say it's like an 8.
Okay. Then I will ask you to stay with that sensation.
Hmm.
Like the third step will be release it by staying with that sensation in your body until it is gone. I will ask you to feel that sensation in your stomach. So just stay there. Just feel it with curiosity. How is this anger, this resentment feels?
Do I close my eyes while I do that?
You don't need to.
Okay, so
You
just
don't
be.
need
Do
to.
you put your hands over your stomach?
Not even that, because if you can do this even when there's people and nobody will notice it. You
Okay,
can do it at your
so just be present to it.
exactly,
Just
just
be
present.
very present. Okay. And
Yes.
once I'm very present to it, I start breathing into it.
No, not even breathing, just
Okay.
feeling it. Not
Okay.
just feeling
Not
it.
even breathing. I'm just
Not
feeling
even
it.
that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just
Just
feeling
feel the
it.
sensation in the stomach in this case and stay
And
there.
how long does that take, that process?
Usually will take 1 minute, a minute and a half. For some people, depending if that's a very strong emotion, could take longer, but it will take minutes.
And not even breathe, just feeling it,
No.
being present to it, and then it starts just disappearing.
Yes, it will be. They will say, "Oh, now it's decreasing." Yes, I don't feel it that much. And then I said, "Okay, we will go back to that same situation. Think again about your friend that you are resentful with, and notice how do you feel now regarding that resentment and that anger." And they say, "Okay, now identify where you feel it still." And they will say, yes, it's still here in the stomach. And then I will ask them, okay, if it was in 8, now how it is. And they will probably, I mean, will say it's 3 or 5 or 4. Very, um, is,
And then you repeat the process until it's completely disappeared.
uh-huh,
Okay,
yes,
so
I
then you
know,
go right back again, acknowledge it,
yes.
feel where it
Maybe
is and be present to it and then release it again and, just
two
be
or
with it.
three rounds of this,
Uh-huh.
and it's done.
That's
And I will
amazing.
ask them, how do you feel now about your friend?
Hmm.
And that situation. And most probably they will say, sometimes they will say, oh, that was so silly. Why I was un, angry with her because of this. And they will laugh at what they were angry, or they will say, oh, no, my friend, I love her so much. Or I
That seems
understand her. It's a,
that seems so easy, That seems
it
so
is.
easy. That's amazing.
And
And it's called
it
the
is.
I love that it's the air technique, like just air. Everybody wants to be airy, Just I
Yeah.
love that. That's a great name for it. Okay, so anything else because we're running out of time. Anything else that you wanted to say about this technique and then I'm going to have you also tell people how to connect with you, find you and work with you as well.
Yeah. I will say that anything that we can face in our life, we can use it as an opportunity to let it go and recover peace and realize how much the peace and the well-being is within us and not outside, and that they have the tool to go back to that peace with whatever it's going outside or wherever have somebody has said to you. You always have the tool and the way to go back to that peace.
I love that so much. I think this is such important work. And I think I mean, just go to the jails and teach people, to do that. I mean, anybody could use that, right? Because it's
Yes.
simple, it's easy, and it gets you back to you, which is really what we want to do is come back to ourselves, It's incredible.
Yeah.
Your work is amazing. And I'm so happy we had this
Thank you.
conversation. I think people will learn so much from this. And I'm glad, aren't you glad we kind of broke it down for people so they can really get exactly.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I
I
thought that
love
made a
it.
difference. Yeah.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
So, Sandra, how can people connect with you? I know you have a website. Do you want to go ahead and tell them how to find you? Because,
Yes, my website is Sandra Iozzelli, which is very a little bit
that's okay.
difficult
We're,
to.
we're, we're gonna we're gonna put the link under the podcast, so that's okay. Any other way that you want them to
But
connect?
you can also because my website is in English. The rest of my social media right now is in Spanish. Hopefully, very soon I will have my book "Learn to Live in Peace" translated into English as well. Hopefully, very soon, and maybe it's easier to find me in sandrahypnotherapy.com.
Oh, I love that you have a book as well. I didn't know that. What
Yeah,
language is your book in right now? Spanish
in
or?
Spanish right now. I just
Okay.
launched it here in
Oh,
Lima.
congratulations. That's
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Yay, I
Thank
love
you.
that. Well, it's been such an honor to speak with you, to get to know
Thank you.
you, and
Thank
your
you.
work is amazing. And I know people will get a lot watching this.
Thank you. And it was a pleasure and honor for me to talk with you and for your audience here. And thanks for the invitation.
Thank you so much. Have an amazing rest of your day.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. I want to thank you for joining me today on the World Healing Tour podcast. Until next time, please remember to practice these three important elements that I always talk about, the 3G effect. Number one, every day remember to have a grateful heart and connect to your gratitude. When you're connected to your gratitude, you're connected to positive feelings and positive emotions. And therefore, you're drawing more positive people, things, and experiences into your life. Number two, element number two, remember to ground in love and compassion. First, love and compassion for yourself, because we all need more love and compassion. And then learn to share that love and compassion with others on the journey. The more love and compassion we put out into the world, the more abundance, love, and compassion we will receive in return. And number three, remember that you're not alone on this journey. It's a guided journey. I always say, guided by God. So whether it's God for you, universe, higher power, whatever it is, know that you're not alone. God always sends messengers and messages to you. So just be open, be present, and continue doing your inner work. Until next time, my friends, have a beautiful week. Namaste. The World Healing Tour Movement with your host, Noah Crane. Heal yourself, heal the world.